Actor John Eric Hexum, who shot himself in the head last Friday, is dead.
One of the most famous stars in Hollywood history is dead at 36.
One moment they were at the height of their careers, unstoppable, untouchable. The next they were gone, ripped away in ways that were as tragic as they were shocking. A simple prescription meant to heal, a deadly mix of drugs meant to escape.
We knew that he was taking some prescription medication for an illness that he had, and
a careless mistake that proved fatal.
Blank was fired.
Each story is a painful reminder that even the brightest stars can fall too soon. Prepare yourself as we remember the worst ways actors have died, Part 4.
One of the most famous stars in Hollywood history is dead at 36. Marilyn Monroe was found dead in bed.
August 5th, 1962. The world woke up to the shocking news. Marilyn Monroe, the blonde bombshell who defined Hollywood glamour, was dead at just 36 years old. But was it an overdose? Or something more sinister? In the early hours of that Sunday morning, Monroe's housekeeper noticed something was wrong. Her bedroom light was on, the door locked. When she didn't respond, Dr. Ralph Greenson, her psychiatrist, was called. Breaking through a window, he found Marilyn lifeless, naked in bed, clutching a phone. Scattered around her were empty pill bottles, Nembutal and chloral hydrate, powerful sedatives. The official cause? Probable suicide. But the circumstances raised more questions than answers. Monroe had been entangled in high-profile affairs, including rumored romances with both President John F. Kennedy and his brother Robert. Some believe she knew too much, secrets that made her a liability.
The Kennedys were a very important part of Marilyn's life.
Reports claimed the FBI had files on her, that her phone was wiretapped, and that she may have been silenced. Then there's the timeline. Why did it take hours before authorities were called? Why were toxicology reports incomplete? Witnesses even claimed the scene had been staged, her body moved, evidence tampered with. Did Marilyn Monroe take her own life, or was she the victim of something far more sinister?
It's a great thrill, and I'm very appreciative to everyone who's made this possible.
More than 60 years later, her death remains one of Hollywood's greatest mysteries. She captivated the world with her beauty, but behind the spotlight, she was a woman searching for love, for peace. In the end,
How is she going to have any time for being in love?
Marilyn Monroe's final act remains as haunting as the troubled life she led.
Can't take my eyes off of you.
Heath Ledger was a rising star, a dedicated actor who pushed himself to the edge for every role. But in his pursuit of perfection, he may have gone too far.
The actor Heath Ledger was found dead today in an apartment here in New York City. He was just 28 years old.
On January 22, 2008, Ledger was found unresponsive in his Manhattan apartment. He was face down on his bed, lifeless. His housekeeper and masseuse called Mary Kate Olsen, a close friend, before finally dialing 911. By the time paramedics arrived, it was too late. He was just 28. The cause? An accidental overdose, a lethal mix of prescription medications, including sleeping pills, painkillers, and anti-anxiety drugs. But how did this happen?
We knew that he was taking some prescription medication for an illness.
Ledger had been open about his struggles with insomnia and exhaustion, particularly after filming The Dark Knight. Playing the Joker had taken a psychological and physical toll. He admitted to getting only 2 hours of sleep a night, relying on medication to function. But was his overdose a tragic mistake, or a warning ignored? His death was all the more heartbreaking because of what came next. The Dark Knight was released months later, earning him a posthumous Academy Award.
And the Oscar goes to Heath Ledger in The Dark Knight.
He had just reached the peak of his career, but he never got to see it. More importantly, he left behind his 2-year-old daughter, Matilda, whom he adored. Ledger's death became a wake-up call about the dangers of prescription drug misuse, especially in Hollywood's high-pressure world. His haunting, brilliant performance as the Joker remains his legacy, but also a painful reminder of the cost of his dedication.
That's right, Bennett Brower back with another commentary.
Chris Farley was larger than life, on screen, on stage, and in every room he entered. But behind the contagious laughter and boundless energy was a man battling demons he could never quite outrun. On December 18, 1997,
it will be some time before we know for sure what killed 33-year-old Chris Farley.
Farley's brother John found him collapsed in his Chicago apartment. He was unresponsive, lying near the entrance. By then, it was too late. The cause? A deadly mix of cocaine and morphine, an overdose hauntingly similar to his idol, John Belushi, who died the same way 15 years earlier. Farley skyrocketed to fame on Saturday Night Live and films like Tommy Boy, but his success came with crushing pressure. He struggled with addiction, self-doubt, and an insatiable need for approval. Despite multiple stints in rehab, his downward spiral continued.
You're gonna end up eating a steady diet of government cheese.
His final days were heartbreaking. Witnesses say he spent his last nights partying, desperately seeking companionship, yet always ending up alone. The last person to see him alive recalled his final words, a plea, "Don't leave me." At just 33, Chris Farley became another tragic Hollywood cautionary tale. He made the world laugh, but behind the scenes he was drowning in his own pain.
Well, what happened is that John Eric Hexum accidentally wounded himself in the head when he fired a gun loaded with blanks.
Hollywood sets are supposed to be places of creativity and controlled precision. But on October 12, 1984, one careless moment turned deadly.
John Eric Hexum was declared dead. Mr. Hexum was transferred to a Northern California hospital.
John Eric Hexum, a rising star on the TV show Cover Up, was growing restless between takes. Frustrated by delays, he picked up a .44 Magnum revolver loaded with blanks, jokingly played Russian roulette, pressed the barrel to his temple, and pulled the trigger. He never expected what happened next. Blanks don't fire bullets, but the force of the blast is still deadly. The explosion sent fragments of his skull into his brain, causing catastrophic injuries. Hexum collapsed instantly. Rushed to the hospital, he underwent emergency surgery, but after 6 days in a coma, doctors declared him brain dead. His mother made the heartbreaking decision to donate his organs.
At his wish and the wish of his family, his heart, kidneys, and corneas were donated for transplant purposes.
He was just 26. His death served as a tragic warning about the dangers of firearms on set, even when no live ammunition is present. But nearly 40 years later, history repeated itself with the accidental shooting of Rust cinematographer Helena Hutchins. John Eric Hexum had the talent, the charisma, and the potential to be a star. But a single reckless moment cost him everything. Superman was supposed to be invincible, but on June 16, 1959, the man who played him on television, George Reeves, was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head. The official ruling is non-accidental death, but the evidence told a different story. Reeves was discovered in his bedroom, while his fiancée, Leonore Lemon, and several guests were downstairs. Strangely, no one had heard an argument before the gunshot. Even more suspicious, there were multiple bullet holes in the room, yet only one in Reeves. There were no fingerprints on the gun, no gunpowder residue on his hands. If he had taken his own life, why didn't the scene add up? Rumors swirled. Reeves had been romantically involved with Toni Mannix, the wife of powerful MGM executive Eddie Mannix. Some believe his death was no accident, that it was a hit disguised as non-accidental death. Others point to Lemon, who allegedly joked just before the shot was fired. He's going to kill himself.
No, we're still having dinner, all right. As a matter of fact, I sent Jimmy Olsen down to pick you up.
Reeves had struggled to escape the shadow of Superman, frustrated by typecasting and a stagnant career. But was his death the result of despair, or something far more sinister? Decades later, George Reeves's mysterious end remains one of Hollywood's greatest unsolved cases. Did Superman really take his own life, or was he silenced? Their talent was undeniable, their presence unforgettable, yet their final moments were filled with tragedy. A single misstep, a lethal combination, or an accident that never should have happened. These actors left behind legacies that will outlive their heartbreaking ends. But as we remember them, we must ask ourselves, could anything have changed their fate? Let us know your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that honor and remember those we lost too soon. Some stars shine bright, but their light fades far too fast. We'll see you in the next video.